Hi friends, I'm Parvez and welcome to my another course on Qt6 C++ GUI development. In this course, this course is about 3 hours training course, and in this course we're going to talk about the fundamental concepts on Qt6 and also graphical user interface application development using Qt. Okay. Now, if you're interested on a complete course about 18 or 19 hours training course, so I have a complete course on Qt6 C++ GUI and mobile app development. So this is a complete course, and if you see, there are different sections: introduction, widget section, signal and slots in Qt Designer, building contact list application, building simple notepad application, painting and graphics. Database connection, we're going to learn that how you can use SQLite and MySQL database, Qt charts, drag and drop functionalities, multimedia, MDI and SDI windows, animations, web engine, Qt Quick, Qt Quick controls, Qt Quick multimedia, charts in Qt Quick, Qt Quick 3D, animation in Qt Quick, painting in Qt Quick, and also at the end we're going to learn that how we can build Android applications using Qt and also C++ programming language. Now right now this is about 18 or 19 hours training course, but I will update this course and I will add new features. Now, in the course that I have published in Udemy, in this course I'm using CMake build system, and in the course that I'm adding in YouTube, on that course I'm using QMake build system. Even though QMake is the default build system for Qt, but that's for Qt5, and in Qt6 they have changed it to CMake, but there's no problem, you can use QMake or CMake, but CMake is recommended. And in the Udemy course I'm using CMake, and a complete CMake project course this is. And in the YouTube that I'm publishing, this 3 hours training course, and here I'm using QMake build system. Also in the Udemy course that I have published, now the length is about 19 hours training course, and in here I'm using Qt 6.3, and that's the latest version of Qt right now. And in the YouTube that I'm publishing, the length is 3 hours training course, and that is Qt 6.2. Now in here I'm using 6.3, and in the YouTube course that I'm publishing, I'm using Qt 6.2. Now, if you're interested in this course, I have added the link in the video description, and also I'm updating this course every time because there will be new versions of Qt, and also there will be new features on Qt. So if you're interested on a complete GUI and mobile app development using Qt and also C++ with a CMake build system, then I've added the link in the video description and you can join this complete course. Now, before installation of Qt, let's talk about Qt. Officially, you can call this Qt, but also you can call it Qt. So now, first of all, what's Qt? Qt is used for developing graphical user interface, or we can say GUIs, and multi-platform applications that run on all major desktop platforms and most mobile or embedded platforms. Most GUI programs created with Qt have a native looking interface, in which case Qt is classified as a widget toolkit. Non-GUI programs can also be developed with Qt, such as command line tools and also consoles for the servers. Now let's talk about applications that they are using Qt. So now there are a lot of applications that they are using Qt, but I'm going to just name some of them. For example, we have OBS. It's a cross-platform screencast software. Telegram desktop is using Qt. VLC Media Player is using Qt. Wireshark, packet analyzers created by Qt. Adobe Photoshop Album is using Qt. Also CryEngine V, it's a game engine, it's also using Qt. TeamViewer, a computer software package for remote control desktop sharing, online meetings, web conferencing, and file transfer between computers is using Qt. Now there are a lot of softwares and applications that are built in Qt, but I have just named some of them. So now let's just learn that how we can install Qt. So now let's install Qt, and now you're seeing that I'm in Qt.io website. And you can see that one framework, one code base, any platform. Now, if I come down, you can see that 1+ billion devices and applications powered by Qt. And the familiar names are Sky, like LG or Mercedes-Benz. Now I'm going to just come down, and in here you can see that in the community section you can just click on downloads. After that, this page will be opened in Get Qt. So there are different versions of Qt. You can buy Qt, get the full Qt experience with a license plan designed to support your business goals, plus access to the official Qt support help desk. Also, you can try Qt. I think it's just for 1 month, a free trial. Also, you can download Qt for open source users. Now it's free. You can just use that under the LGPL contribution license. So after clicking off the Go Open Source, this page will be opened. And from here, you need to download an installer. So download Qt Online Installer. And this page will be open. And from here, you can just download your the online installer according to the operating system. So I already have downloaded the online installer, and I'm going to just run this. So in here you need to give your email and also password. Now let me just give my email and password. So after giving of the email and password, also if you haven't created an account, you need to create an account. So I already have an account, and from here now I can just I have read, and after that I'm going to just click on next. So now let's just wait for collecting the meta information. It will collect that. So now I think it's 100%. So let's wait. Okay, so now I'm going to just receive these information, click on next. Now from here, because I already have installed that, now I'm going to choose the custom and check this custom installation and click on next. So now from here, if you see, there are different versions of Qt or Qt that you can use. You can use this version, or you can use any lower version, because these examples work on even in Qt5 or Qt5. So I'm going to choose this version, and from here I'm going to just uncheck these. So if you're using now in here, this is the compiler form. Now if you're using Microsoft Visual Studio as a compiler, you need to choose this. I'm using this MinGW as a compiler for the Qt. So because by that reason, I'm going to choose this. And after that, I'm going to uncheck all of these. Every time if you want to install these, you can just install that. And from here, from the additional libraries, I want to install Qt3D and also Qt charts and web engine. Okay, so every time if you want, you can just install these. Also Qt multimedia. Okay, so now I'm going to just click on next. I have read, next, and install. Now let's just wait. It will take a little bit for the installation. So now you can see that all downloads finished, and now it's installing the packages, and we need to wait for the installation of the packages, and it will automatically install all the packages. So you can see that it's installing the components, documentation, the examples, and also the compilers, the libraries. It will install all of them automatically. It will first extract, yeah, and here it's extracting, and after extracting, it's installing. So now it's installing the Qt Creator. So now the installation has been completed. Let's click on next, and you can launch this. For right now, I'm not going to launch this. I can just finish this. Okay. So now let's open the Qt or Qt. Okay, now this is my Qt or Qt, and you can see that this is the Qt Creator. And in here, if you see, we have our welcome page, and this is a welcome page. After that, we have edit, where you can edit your project. Right now, we don't have any project, and if you have a project, there will be your project name and your files, and you can edit your project from here. After that, we have design. Right now, this is disabled, but when you have a project, it will be enabled. It is a designer, and it has drag and drop functionality. After that, we have debug, that where you can debug your project, and this is help, where you can just find the examples, and this is the documentation that you can use different examples in here, and you can just use different classes and how they are working, and there are some examples for this. And in here you can see that we have our play button, that from here you can just run your project, and in here you can debug your project, and from here you can build your project. Also, now in here we have our menu items. You can just create a new project or a new file. We have edit, view, this is the build section, where you can build your project, and from here you can debug your project. And also in the tools, in here we have options. Now in the options, if you see, we have different sections. Now the first one is the kits. Now you can see that by default it's the compiler, we can say, for the Qt or Qt. And by default, if you remember that when we have installed our Qt and we have chosen Non-GUI, and also if you see in the compiler section, you can use different compilers, even Microsoft Visual C++ and Non-GUI, and like this. Or you can use ceiling and like this. So we have debuggers, and this is the CMake. And also if you see in here, the Qt kit is probably the most difficult aspect when it comes to working with Qt Creator initially. Qt kit is a set of Qt versions, compiler, and devices, and some other settings. It is used to uniquely identify the combination of tools for your project build. A typical kit for a desktop would contain a C++ compiler, as we have Non-GUI, and also a Qt version like this, and also a device like desktop or Android. So now also, if you see in here in the text editor, from here you can change the interface of the editor. For example, you can change the font size. I can just make it 20, and I can apply this, it will be 20, or even you can change the color theme that from here, and you can choose whatever you want. And we have some more options like help, C++, Qt Quick. Right now we haven't learned build and run, and the debugger. This is the designer options. This is the Python options, and if you have a Python version, it will be in here. I have Python 3.9, and also version control if you're using, and we have devices, and here you can set up your Android devices. Right now we are not going to talk about the Android. We will talk that in the later part of the course. And these are some options for the Qt Creator. Now let's create our first project in Qt or Qt. So right now you can see that this is my Qt Creator user interface. And from here, if you see, I'm using the latest version of Qt or Qt. Now you can pronounce it Qt or Qt, there's no problem. So if I go to help and about Qt Creator, and you can see that this is the latest version of Qt Creator and also Qt. Now from here, you can just create a new project from here, or you can just click on the file, for example, new project. Now in here you can see that we have some options. At the top we have application or Qt. After that, this is application, Qt for Python. If you're interested in a complete course on using PyQt or PyQt, you can just check my course on Udemy. I have a course about that. Now this is the library. It creates a Qt custom designer widget or a custom widget collection. After that, we have non-Qt project. From here you can just create a plain C application or C++ application, and from here you can import project. Now we are interested in this application or Qt. So in here you can see that we have three options. The first one is widget application. Now it creates a widget based Qt application that contains a Qt designer based main window. And from here you can just create your graphical user interface application. After that, we have a console application. Now using this you can create console applications. It will just have a main.cpp file. After that, we have a Qt or Qt6 application. Now right now we are not going to talk much about the Qt6 or Qt6 applications, but the Qt6 module is the standard library for writing QML applications, while the Qt-QML module provides the QML engine and language infrastructure. The Qt6 module provides all the basic types necessary for creating user interfaces with QML, or we can say Qt markup language. So now we are interested in the widget based applications. After that, we can just click on choose. So from here you need to just give the project name. For example, first I need to just choose the project directory, and in here I can create a new folder, and in here I can just call it, for example, course. And after that, in this section I can just in here I want to create another folder, and let me just say the first part. This is the first part, and I can just say introduction and installation. Okay, so after that, click on select folder, and from here I need to just create give a name for the project. So I can just say, or I cannot, first name contains white space. Okay, first GUI, there shouldn't be any white space, first GUI app. Okay, and after that click on next, and the build system, we are using QMake. Click on next, and in here you can see that it will create a main window. So from here you can see that we have base class, and there are three types of window classes that you can use. Right now we are not going to talk about this, and we will talk about this in the next lecture. Right now we are using QWidget, and we want to create a widget based application. So you can see that we will have a widget.h, a header file, and also we will have a widget.cpp. And in here you can see that if you check this, if you uncheck this, it will not create a UI file for you, a UI designer. But if you check this, it will create a widget.ui that you can, for example, drag and drop widget components to your UI. Right now, in this lesson, we want to just check this, but in the later sections or later, for example, lessons, we're going to uncheck this because we want to create our UI components from scratch using C++ language. So right now I can just check this, and after that I can just click on next, and from here I don't want to use any language, but you can choose language for that. After that we can just click on next. Now this is the kit for us. I have just one, and I'm using the default one, and so you can see that this is the default one that is installed. And after that I can just click on next. So now we can just finish, and let's just wait. Now it has created a project for us. So first let's just start from this .pro, or we can say, you can see that we have first GUI app.pro. Now you can see that we have some configuration for the project, and the .pro file is used to list the source files that are involved in a project. For example, in the source we have main.cpp and also widget.cpp files. You can see the source, we have main.cpp and also widget.cpp, and in the headers file we have just widget.h. Okay, and this is the form. So we have UI, you can see that widget.ui, and that's also added in here. Okay, so after that we have our headers files. Now this is our widget.h file. So in here we are using QWidget class. Right now we are not going to talk about the three different type of widget classes, three different type of window classes that you can use. For example, we have widget, we have main window, and also we have dialog. So now this is our namespace UI, and after that we have our class widget that extends from the QWidget class that we have imported in here. And if you see in here, we have QObject, and this is the meta object compiler. Is the program that handles Qt C++ extensions. Now the meta object compiler tool reads a C++ header file if it finds one or more class declarations that contain the QObject macro. It produces a C++ source file containing the meta object code for those classes. Among other things, meta object code is required for the signals and slots mechanism, the runtime type information, and the dynamic property system. Right now we haven't talked about the signals and slots, but we will talk about this in the later part of the course. And this is our public, and in here we have our constructor. So after that we have our widget.cpp. So this is the declaration of widget.h in here. And also we have our main.cpp. Now this is the important file, and you can see that in here we have QApplication. Now what's QApplication? QApplication specializes QGUI application with some functionality needed for QWidget based applications. It handles widget specific initialization, finalization, and for any GUI application using Qt, there is precisely one application object, no matter whether the application has 0, 1, 2 or more windows at any given time. And you can see that in here we have created our application, QApplication. After that we have created our widget. Now this is the widget that we have in here. Okay, it's a widget based class window. And after that, if you see, after that we are showing the window, w.show, and in here we have return a.execute. Now this is important. Now it enters the main event loop and waits until exit is called, then returns the value that was set to exit, which is 0 if exit is called via quit. It's necessary to call this function to start event handling, and the main event loop receives events from the Windows system and dispatches these to the application widgets. Okay, so now we want to run this, and also let me just describe this. And here we have widget.ui. Now this is the user interface file, and as I've already said that for right now we are going to just I'm going to just briefly explain this, because in the first section we want to create our examples using from scratch, and in the next part we will talk about this. Right now you can see that in here you can add, for example, push buttons, or you can add any widgets in here. And for example, if I run this right now, let me just you can run it from here. We can just save all, and now let's just wait. You will see that we will have a simple widget based window. Okay, now we have our window, and this is the title. So now if you add, for example, a button in here, for example a push button, and if I run this again, if I save this, and let's wait, so now you can see that we have our push button in the window. In this section we're going to talk about some widgets, and the first widget that we want to learn, that's QLabel. Now QLabel class is used for displaying messages. Also you can use QLabel class for displaying static and also GIF images. There are different methods that you can use in QLabel class. For example, we have set text, and it's used for setting the text. We have set pixmap method, and that's used for setting the image in the QLabel. Also, for example, we have clear method, and this method clears the text from the label widget. We have set num. This method adds an integer or double value to the label widget. Also, we have set movie, and this method is used for setting GIF images in the QLabel. Now let's open our Qt creator, and we want to create some examples in the QLabel. So this is my Qt creator. Let me create a new project in here, and I want Qt widget application. And from here I can just say first I need to just create a new directory in here, the course, and let me just new folder, and I can just name it Qt widgets, and in here I can choose the folder and use default project location, and let me just name it label example, and let's just click on next, and we want to use a widget based window, and we don't want to generate a form. Click on next, and we want to just create the project. So now the project is created, and first I can just open my widget.h. So this is my header file, and I have my .cpp and also main.cpp. So in the widget.cpp, first I'm going to just set a window title. So set window title, and I can just say QLabel, and I can give a size. So a size, for example, 500 by 400. Okay. So now if I run this, you'll see that I have just a simple window. So now let me run it, and let's just wait. Now it's building the project. Now for the first time it will take a little bit because it's building the project. Okay, so now we have our QLabel, and that's the window. So as I've already said that we can use QLabel class. So first we need to import QLabel class, and after that let's create our label. So QLabel, and I can just say label new QLabel, and the parent is this. Also you can set the text, you can add the text in here. For example, if I say label, this is label, and if I save it and if I run it, let's just wait. So now you can see we have this is label. You can set the label text in here. Also you can use set text, and in here I can just say label set text, and for example this is the label, and if I run this, it will be the same result. Also we can just move this. For example, if I say label move, I want to move the label, for example 100 by 100, and now if I run this, let's save all, and let's wait. So we have used movie. We should see it not movie, but it should be move. And now let's save all and let's run it. Let's wait. Okay, so now we have this label, and you can see in the move we need to give the X position and also the Y position. So this is the X position and this is the Y position. So now also we can set font. So I can first, let me just okay, so now in here I can just say label set font, and it expects a Q font. So if you see in here, we need to give a Q font. So we can just say Q font, and we need to give the type of the font. So for example times, and also the size, for example 15. Also we can set the style sheet. For example, we can give a color to the font. So I can just say set style sheet, and in here we need to give a style sheet as a string. So I can just say background, or we can just give a color to the text, red. So now let's run it and let's save all. So now we have our label, and this is the label, and red color label in here. Also you can set the geometry for a label. For example, let me just in the geometry you can set the X and Y position and also the width and height of the label. I can just say label set geometry. We need to give the X and Y position 100 100, and the X and Y the width and height of the label. So you can see we have int AX and AY, and W width and also H height. So for the width I can just give it 300 by 300. And now if I run this, if I save all, so now you can see that we have our label in here. Now this was adding text to the label. As I've already said, that also you can add image to the label. So let me just show you that. So first I'm going to comment this in here like this, and after that we are going to create our label in here. So Q label new, Q label, the parent is this. And after that, first we need to now for adding the label we are using the Qt6 map. And for this, now the first thing is that we need to add an image in our resource. And as I've already showed you that how you can add, for example, files or images to the resource. So I can just click on the project and I can just click on add new. From here I can just choose Qt or Qt resource file, and we need to give the name for the resource file. Click on next and finish. So now we can add a prefix. I can just say images, and now I can add files. So let me just paste the image in here. I'm using this image, open, and we need to save this. And the resource, now we have the Qt image. So now after this, now I can just say label set pexmap, and I can use Qt6map. So Qt6map, we need to okay, so Qt6map, I think we don't need to import Qt6map. And after that we can just give the path of the image. So images, and that's qt.png. And now let's just run it, save all, and let's wait. So now you can see that we have our image in here. Also you can set the geometry for that. For example, I can just say label set geometry. We need to give X and Y position and also width and height. So for example 400 by 400. So now if I run it, save all, and let's wait. Okay, so now you can see we have the image. Also you can add GIF images. So let me just give a comment in here. So add image. Okay, so now first let me just create my label in here, and like this. And also I need to add a GIF image in my resource, and here I can just say add new, or not add new, but in the images I can just say add existing directory. Where is it? Add existing files. Okay, and in here let me just copy the GIF image. So in here I can paste that, so sky.gif, and let me click on OK. So now that's added. Let's save that. Okay, so now and now we can use first we need to import the Q movie in here. I can just include that Q movie, and after that now in here we can just say Q movie. We need to create the Q movie and pointer to movie, Q movie, and new Q movie. Now in here we need to give the path of the image, so I can just say images, and that is sky.gif. So after that now we can set the movie, so I can just say label set movie, and I can add the movie in here. Also we need to start that, so movie start. So now let's just run it and let's save it. Let's wait. So now you can see that this is our GIF image, and we have added that to the label. So also you can set the geometry. For example, let me copy this, and then here I can just add that, and for example I can just make it to 20, and I can just make it to 400 and 400. Now we can run it, we can save this, and let's wait. So now we have our GIF image. In this lesson, we want to learn about the QPushButton class. Now, the push button or comment button is perhaps the most commonly used widget in any graphical user interface. Push or click a button to command the computer to perform some actions or to answer a question. Now, typical buttons are OK, apply, cancel, close, yes, no, and also help. There are different methods that you can use in the push button and the QPushButton. We have set text. This method is used to assign text to the push button. We have set icon. This method is used to assign an icon to the push button. We have set geometry. This method is used for setting the X and Y position, also width and height of the button. We have set menu. This method is used for setting a pop-up menu to the button. Now let's open our Qt Creator, and we want to create our practical example for the QPushButton. Okay, now in here I'm going to create my new project, Qt widget application, and I want to just name it button example, and I can just use this default project location. Click on next. I want a widget based application, and I don't want to create any form for this. Click on next, finish, and now the project is created. So first let me close the label project because I don't need that, and now I have my button example project. So now let's open our widget.h. So this is the header file. We have widget.cpp. Now in here, the first thing is that I need to set the window title to QPushButton. So QPushButton, and this is the size of the window. So now, as I've already said, that we can use QPushButton class. So first we need to just include that QPushButton. And after doing that, now in here, I need to create my push button. So I can just say QPushButton, and I can just say button, new QPushButton. And now you can add, first you need to add the parent in here. Also you can add the text in here, for example, click, or you can use the set text method. So I'm going to use the set text method in here, and I can just say button set text, and I can just name it, for example, click me. Okay, so now we have our button, and now if I run this, let's just run this, and you'll see that I have a nice button. So now you can see that this is the button, and we have click me. Now you can set the geometry, so I can just say button set geometry, and I can just give it the X and Y position, and also the width and height. Also I can set the font, so btn set font. So this is button set font, and in here I can just use the Q font, and we need to specify the type of the font, for example Times, and also the size 15. And now let's just run this, and let me save all, and let's wait. So now we have our click me button. Also you can add an icon. Let's add the icon. First we need to add our icon. I can just say add new. We need to create a resource file, and I can just say res, click on next, and add prefix, for example image, and I can just add files. I can paste the image, and I can choose that. Let's open, and let's save it. Now that's added, and now we can use the set icon. So I can just say button set icon, and we need to give the Q icon in here, and in the Q icon we need to give the path of the image. So that's image and qt.png. Okay, so now let's just run it again. So you can see that the icon is added, the image is added. Also, you can resize that. I can just say button and set icon size, and I can just use Q size in here. For example, you can just give it whatever you want. I want to use this size, okay? And now let's just run it and let's wait. Okay, so now you can see that we have click me button in here, and this is the icon or image. As I've already said, that also you can set pop-up menu to the button. Now for that, we don't need to comment this because we need that. Okay, so now we want to add pop-up menu to the button. Okay, so first we need to just create our Q menu. I can just say Q menu, here Q menu. We need to import Q menu in here. Q menu. And now we can add actions to this menu. So I can just say menu, and I can use add action. So I can just say add action. And we can just say copy. Let's add menu, add action, and we can just say cat, for example, and menu, add action, and we can use, for example, paste. Okay, so now let's just run it, and let's save all. We will not see because we need to, after creating of this, we need to set the menu. So right now it's not showing. We need to set the menu to the button. So we can just say button set menu. We can use set menu, and in here we can just add our menu. Okay, so now if I run this, and it should work. And let's wait. So now you can see that we have pop-up menu, and let's just add some styles. First I need to set the font, so I can just say menu set font, so that is menu, and in here we are going to just use the Q font, so I can just say Q font. And for the Q font, I can use, for example, the type of the font and also the size, so 14. Also, we can set the style sheet. Set style sheet, and I can just give a background color to yellow. So now let's just run it again, save all. So now we have our copycat paste, but there's no color. You can see we have an error that unknown property background color. It means that we have a type in here, and that is background color. Okay, so let's run it again. And now you can see that it is working. In this lesson, we want to learn about the QLineEdit class. Now, LineEdit allows the user to enter and edit a single line of plain text with a useful collection of editing functions, including undo and redo, cut, paste, and also drag and drop. There are different methods that you can use in the QLineEdit. For example, we have set placeholder text. We can set a placeholder text for the line edit. We have set echo mode. Now it sets the echo mode of the line edit widget. It determines how the contents of the line edit widgets are to be displayed. Now the available options are normal. Now this is the default mode, and it displays characters the way they are entered. We have a no echo. It switches off the line edit echo. That is, it doesn't display anything. We have password. Now this option is used for password fields. No text will be displayed, and instead asterisks appear for the text entered by the user. Also, we have password echo edit. It displays the actual text while editing the password fields. Otherwise, it will display the asterisks for the text. Also, we have set enabled. Now, by default, the line edit widget is enabled. That is, the user can make change to it. But if the boolean value false is passed to this method, it will disable the line edit widget, so the user cannot edit its content. Also, we have set focus. Now this method positions the cursor on the specified line edit widget. So now let's open our Qt Creator and create our practical example. So now let's create our new project. In here I can use Qt widget application. Let's click on next. Let me just call it line edit example. Use default location, click on next. We want a widget based application. We don't want to generate a form. Click on next and finish. So now that's created. Let's just close this, and our second button example project, I can just say save all. Okay, now that's closed. And now in the widget.cpp, let's add our size. I'll set window title and also size of the window, and I can just say QLineEdit. So first we need to include the QLineEdit class, so I can just say QLineEdit, and after that we are going to just create our QLineEdit. So QLineEdit, and I can just say LineEdit new QLineEdit. Okay, and we can pass the parent as this. After that, let's also set a geometry for the line edit. So line edit, set geometry. We can give the x and y position 20, 20, the width and height like this. Also, we can set a font. So line edit, set font, and I can just use Q font. We can just give the font type and also the font size. Okay, now let's run this, and I can just click on this, save all, and let's wait. So it's building the project, and now we should see the line edit. Okay, so now we can see that we have the line edit in here. Let's change this to 50, not 250. 50 is good. Okay. Also, you can, as I've already said, that you can disable or enable a line edit. So by default that's enabled, but we can disable that. So I can just say set enable. It takes a boolean value. By default that's true, and I want to just make it to false. And let's run it again. And now we can see that's disabled, and we cannot write anything in here. Also, we can set the echo mode. For example, I want a password field. I can just do it like this: line edit, set echo mode, and I can just say Q line edit. You can directly use, for example, echo mode, no echo, or password echo on edit. Also, you can do it like this. So echo mode, you can use the enum, and after that we can just say password. And now let's run it again. Let's wait. So now if I write, you can see that we have password in here. In this lesson, we're going to start our layout management journey in Qt. So we have already learned about some basic widgets like QLabel, QPushButton, and QLineEdit. When you're developing a GUI application, then layout management is one of the important concepts. Luckily in Qt, there are different layout systems that you can use. For example, we have QHbox layout, QVbox layout, and QGridLayout. Now in this lesson, we want to create an example of QHbox layout. Using QHbox layout, we can align our widgets horizontally. There are some important methods that you can use in QHbox layout. For example, we have add widget. Now this method is used for adding widgets to the layout. We have add layout. This method is used for adding a specific layout to another layout. We have add spacing. This method is used for adding space from the right side. We have add stretch, and this method is used for stretching all the widgets in the horizontal box layout. Now let's create a practical example. Let me create another project. I am using QWidget application, and from here I can just name it HBox example. Let's click on next. Next, we are going to use a widget based application. We don't need the form, and we are going to create our project. So now let's close. First, let me just copy this title, and after that I can just close this project, the third one. And now we have our edge box layout. Now let's open our widget.cpp. In here I can add this. Okay, and after that let's import QHbox layout. So I can just include QHbox layout. First we need to create some push buttons. Also let's just include the Q push button, and in here we are going to create some push buttons. I can just say Q push button, and I can say btn1 new Q push button, and I can just set the text btn1 set text, and I can just say click 1. So now let's just copy this because we are going to create 4 buttons, and I can just say btn2, and this should be btn2, and in here I can just say click 2. We need another button, and this should be btn3, and I can just say btn3, and this should be click 3. So click 3. Also I need to create another button. This should be my 4th button, and I can just say btn4, and this should be click 4. So now we have our 4 buttons. After that we need to create our edge box layout. So I can just say Q edge box layout, and in here I can just say edge box new Q edge box layout, and we can pass the parent as this. And now we can use the add widget to add these buttons to the horizontal layout, to horizontal box layout. I can just say edge box add widget, and we want to add btn1 edge box add widget, and I want to add btn2 edge box add widget, btn3 edge box add widget, btn4. Okay, so now we have our 4 buttons that are added in the horizontal box layout. Okay, so now if I run this, so before that let me just remove this. First I want to run it like this, that you should see the result. So let's just wait. So now you can see we have our 4 buttons, but they are on top of each other, so we have click 4 in here. Now I can just bring this back, the layout. Now I can just run this, and let's wait. Okay, so now we can see click 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the layout, the buttons are aligned horizontally. And for example, if I just make it, and you can see that we have a good layout management, and if I make it bigger, these are the buttons. We have saw Q edge box layout example. Now let's talk about another type of the layout that's called QV box layout. Now with QV box layout we can align our widgets vertically. Now let's create a practical example. Let's create another project and widget application, and I'm going to just call it VBox layout example, and we can just choose the default location, click on next, and from here I want to use QWidget based application, and I want to just uncheck this form because I don't want form. I don't want form. Click on next, and next. Finish. Okay, so now we have our project. Let's just close our fourth project for the HBox layout. Now we have our files. Let's just open the widget.cpp, and I can add the title and also the size of the window, and I can change this to QVBox layout. So now we need to import the QVBox layout. We need to include the QVBox layout. So QVBox layout. So QVBox layout. And also we are going to include QHBox layout. You can use your includes in the widget.h in the header file. You can add that in here. But because this is just the basic examples, I want to just add that in here. So also we need to import QPush button. QPush button. Okay, so let's create some buttons. QPush button, and I can just say btn1 new QPush button. btn1, let's just set the text to the button, and I can just say click 1, and we are going to just copy and paste this because we are going to create 4 buttons. We need the btn2, and this should be btn2, and I can just say click 2. We need the btn3, and this should be btn3, and we want click 3. We can just add the 4th button, so btn4, and this should be btn4, and this is click 4. So now we have our buttons. Now we need to just create our VBox layout in here. I can just say QVBox layout, and I can just call it VBox new QVBox layout, and we can pass the parent as this. Now we can add our widgets, our 4 buttons, to the vertical box layout. I can just say VBox add widget, and I can add btn1 VBox add widget, btn2 VBox add widget, btn3, and VBox add widget, btn4. So now let's just run this, and we want to run this and save all. Let's just wait. Okay, so now you can see that we have our buttons and they are aligned vertically, and I can just make it bigger like this. I can do it like this. We have saw QHBox layout and QVBox layout examples. Now let's talk about another type of layout that's called QGridLayout. Using QGridLayout, we can align our widgets in row and columns. Now there are different methods that you can use in QGridLayout. For example, we have add widget. This method is used for adding widgets to the layout. We have add layout. This method is used for adding a specific layout to another layout. We have add spacing. This method is used for adding a space from the right side. And also we have add a stretch. This method is used for stretching all the widgets in the grid layout. Now let's create our practical example. So now let's create our project and Qt widget application. I can just name it, for example, VBox, not VBox, but grid layout example. And we want to use this location, and I can just click on next and next. So we are going to use a widget based application. We can just disable the UI or the form, click on next, and now this is our project. Let's close this VBox layout project. Okay, so now we have our project. The first thing is that we need to just include the grid layout and also push button. So in here I can just say include QGridLayout and also include QPush button. And after that we need to create some buttons in here. QPush button, QPush button, and I can just say btn1 new QPush button, and we can give the patent as this. Now we can just say btn set text, and I can just say click 1, and we need to create 3 more buttons, so I can just copy and paste that. So this should be btn2 and btn2 set text and push, we can say clicked 2. We can just create button 3 btn3, and this should be button 3. Also we are going to create one more button, and that should be button 4. Okay, so now we have our 4 buttons. After that we need to create our grid layout, so I can just say QGridLayout, and I can just name it grid and new QGridLayout, and I can add this as parent. And after that we can use grid add widget, so I can just say add widget, not add layout. So add layouts for adding one layout to another layout, so we are going to use add widget. Now in that widget, first we want to add, for example, btn1. After that you need to specify the row and also the column number. For example, 0 row and 0 column. I want to add this btn1, and I can just say grid add widget, and in the 0 row and first column I want to just add btn2. We can just say grid add widget. I can add the btn3 in the first row and 0 column, and grid add widget, and I want to add btn4 in first row and first column. Okay, so now let's just save this and let's run it. Now let's wait. It's building the project. So now we can see that we have our 4 buttons and they are added in the row and columns. We have already learned how to create a GUI application in Qt and how you can create some basic widgets using Qt and C++. But there is more than that we need to do in order to make our applications usable. GUI applications usually provide a means to react to things that occur within an application. For example, when you click a button, the action gets registered, and provided ample code has been written, it will be executed as a reaction to the clicking of the button. For every action that occurs, a number of outcomes may happen. Essentially, the questions we want to answer are as follows. What do we do when a particular action or event has occurred? How do we handle it? For example, when we click the button, what we want to do after clicking of the button. In Qt, this action response schema is handled by signals and a slot. Now, what is signals and a slot? A signal is a message. It's a message that is passed to communicate that the state of an object has changed. The signal may carry information about the change that has occurred. For instance, when a window has been resized, the signal will usually carry the coordinates of the new state or size of the window. Sometimes the signal may carry no extra information, such as that of a button click. A slot is a specific function of an object that is called whenever a certain signal has been emitted. Since slots are functions, they will embody lines of code that perform an action, such as closing a window, disabling a button, or clicking a button. Signals and slots have to be connected in code. Without writing code to connect a signal and a slot, they will exist as independent entities. Most of the widgets in Qt comes with a number of signals and slots. However, it's possible to write your own signals and slots too. Now let's create a practical example. Now let's create our project. So I can just click on new project. So new project. And from here I can just choose Qt widget application, click on choose, and I can just name it, for example, signals and signal slots. We can just name it like this. Okay, and after that we can just click on next. Next we are going to use a widget based application. We don't need the form for right now. We can just click on next and finish. So now the project is created. We can just close the QGridLayout project, and now we have our header file, we have our CPP file, and if you run this you'll see that we will have a simple window. Okay, so now the first thing is that we need to import a Q label. Include the Q label in here, so I can just say Q label. And after that, let's create our Q label in here. So you can use private or public. I'm going to just, for example, I can just use private, and I can just say Q label and also label. Okay. Now we are going to open our widget.cpp. Now we need to include HBox layout, so I'll include QH box layout, and also I'm going to include the Q push button. Also, you can create these widgets, and here you can define that in here, and after that you can just create that in the widget.cpp. But I'm going to just create these in here. So we're going to create our push button in here. So I can just say Q push button and btn1 new Q push button, and the parent is this. After that I can just set the text to this push button, and I can just say, for example, change text. And after that we are going to create our label in here. I can just say new Q label, and I can just add this in here. Right now I can just set the text to the label, and I can just say hello. Okay, so now also we can set the font for this. For right now we are not going to set that. Okay, now we have our label and also push button. Now we need to create our HBox layout. So QHBox layout, because we want to add these two widgets in the horizontal box layout. New QHBox layout, and I can add this as a parent. And after that I can just use HBox add widget, and I want to add btn1 and also HBox add widget, and I want to add the label. Okay, so now let's just save this, and we are going to run this. Now let's wait, it will take a little bit. So now we have our button, and also we have our hello label, and they are aligned in the horizontal box layout. Now, for example, I want, when I click on this change text button, I want to change the text of this label. Now here comes the signals and the slots. So there is a signal in the push button, that's clicked signal. Now that's built-in signal. As I've already said, that there are different signals that are built in Qt. You can use that, but also you can create your own signal. Now we have a clicked signal that is in the Q push button, so we want to use that. But for that, first we are going to create a slot. Now we can just open our widget.h, and in here you can use private. For example, you can just say private slots. Now Qt uses a specific slots keyword to identify slots. Since slot is a function, it's a function, you can always adjust the visibility, for example, public, protected, or private, depending on your need. So you can use private or public. I'm going to just use, for example, public. I can just say public, and we can use slots. Now, as I've already said, that Qt uses a specific slots keyword to identify slots, and it's all a slot as a function, we can say. And now I can just say void change text. And after that, we need to create a definition for this. We can just click on refactor, add definition to widget.cpp, and now we have this in here. Okay. Now in the widget.cpp, the first thing that we need to change the text, as I've already said, that by clicking of the push button, I want to change the text that I have in the label. Okay. Now for that, I have my label and I have defined my label in here. Now I can access this label in my widget.cpp, and in here I can just say label, for example, set text, and in here I can just say this is changed. Okay. So now we have our slot. It's time to connect this slot with the clicked signal of the push button. So now in here I can use connect. We can use connect for connecting the signals and slots. And after that, we need to specify the, for example, which widget we want to connect the signal and the slot. We want to connect the between one. And after that, we need to specify the signal in here. As I've already said, that we can use the clicked signal of the push button. So I can just say clicked. And after that, we need to specify the parent, and I can just give it as this. Also, we need to specify the slot. So I can just say slot. Now, if you remember that we have created this changed text slot, and I can add that in here. So, okay. Now we can save this, and now we can just run this and save all. So let's wait. Now it will take a little bit. Okay, so now we have our change text and also button and also hello label. Now if I click on this, so you can see that we have our slot and we have connected that to the clicked signal of the push button. Now if I click on change text, you can see that this is changed. And also, for example, I can just say label. I want to also change the set font of that label, and I can use Q font. I can give the type, that's times, the size is 15. Also we can change the color, so I can just say set style sheet, and I can say color to red color. Okay, now let's save it and let's run it again. So now I have this, and if I click on change text, you can see that this is changed. In this lesson, we want to talk about a QRadio button. Now, a QRadio button is an option button that can be switched on. It means checked or off and checked. Radio buttons typically presents the user with a one of many choices. In a group of radio buttons, only one radio button at a time can be checked. If the user selects another button, the previously selected button is switched off. There are different methods that you can use in QRadio button class. For example, we have isChecked, and it returns a Boolean value true if the button is in the selected state. Or we have setIcon method that we can add icon for the radio button. Also, we have setText, which set the text of the radio button. Also, there are different signals that you can use. For example, we have toggle signal, which is used whenever the radio button changes its state from checked to unchecked, and vice versa. Now let's create a practical example. Now let me click on File, New Project, Widget Application, and I can just name it Radio Button Example, and I can just click on Next, and I want a widget-based application. Okay, so now the project is created. Let's just close this Signals project. And we have our header file and CPP file. Now in the header file, I'm going to just include the Q radio button. Also, I will need a Q label, so I can just add this. Okay, so now let's just create these in here. And I can just say public, and in the public, Okay, so in here I can just say Q label, or even I can just create a private, and I can just say Q label and label. We have a Q radio button, red 1, Q radio button, and red 2, Q radio button, and red 3. Okay, so we need a Q label with 3 radio buttons. Now after doing this, let's just open our CPP file, and in here also I need some imports. First I need to import QHbox so QHbox. Okay, and now after that we need to create our HBox layout, so I can just say QHbox and HBox, new QHbox layout. Now we need to create our radio buttons, so I can just say red 1, new Q radio button, and I can just say red 1 set text, and I can just say, for example, Python. Let's create another one, so that is red 2, new Q radio button, and red 2 set text, and I can just say it, for example, C++, and like this we can just create our new Q radio button. Okay, so we need to give pointer in here, pointer to the radio button, and now we have our radio buttons. The second one, and let's just copy this and paste that. It's not dot, sorry for this. Okay, now we can just say red 3, and this should be Java. Okay, now we want to add these 3 radio buttons in the horizontal box layout, so I can just say HBox, add a widget, okay, so now let's just run this. So now we have our radio buttons. You can see that we have Python, C++, Java, and at the same time you can just see that you can check just one. Now let's add some styles. For example, we want to change the font text, and also we are going to add an icon for this for these radio buttons. So for adding icons, I need to create a resource in here, so add new Qt and resource file, and I can just say resource finish, and now we can just add prefix. I can just say images, and let's add files, and I can just paste the 3 icons that I have. Let me just click, so CPP, Java, and Python, and let's save it. Okay, so now I have my icons in here, and after that, now in here I can just say, first I need to change the font. I can just say set font, and I can use Q font. And after setting the font, we need to set an icon to that. So red 1, set icon. We can just use Q icon, and in the Q icon we need to specify the path of the icon. So images, and that should be py.png. So this is the first icon that we have. And now let's just copy this and add that in here. This should be red 2, and we want to do the same for the radio button 3. Also we need to change the icon, so this is cpp.png and this is java.png. Okay, so let's save it and let's check that we have the icons or not. So now you can see that we have our radio buttons, also we have icons. Now let's add an icon size for this, so I can just say red one, set icon size, and I can use Q icon, not Q icon, sorry, Q size, so Q size, and I can just give it 40. Let's copy and paste it in here. Let's do this for the radio button 2 and also radio button 3. Save it and let's run it again. Okay, so now you can see that we have our radio buttons with the icons. Now what I want, for example, when I click on this, and here we want to just add signal and slots mechanism to our this radio buttons, and we are going to create this example. For example, if I click on this on Python or C++ or Java, I want to add the text of these, for example, radio buttons in a label in here. So I will create a label, and after that I'm going to use the toggle signal of the radio buttons, and I will connect that to the slots that I'm going to make. Okay, so now the first thing is that we need to add a label in here, and for that we need to first import a VBox layout, because we are going to use layout management. And always it's good when you're creating your widgets, you need to just pay attention to the layouts. So now in here I can just create my VBox layout, so QVBox layout, I can just say VBox, name QVBox layout, and now we already have okay, let me just do it like this, pointer, and we have our label. We have our label in here, and widget.h. Now let's just initialize that, and in here I can just say label new q label, and I can just say this, or even we don't need this. And now I can just say, for right now I'm going to just give a simple text for this, for example, hello world, or just hello. Okay, and now we are going to add that to the VBox layout, so add widget, and we want to add our label. And now what we want to add our this HBox layout to this VBox layout. And right now if I run this, let me just for right now run this. Okay, so first we have a warning in here that attempting to add layout to widget which already has a layout. Okay, so now we need to just remove this from here, and in here we want to just say VBox add layout, and we want to add our HBox layout. So now let's run it again. So let's wait. Okay, so now we don't have any warning, and also we have our hello in here. Okay, let's add a font size for this. So label set font Q font times 50. So now we need to create our slot. So in here I can just say for example public slots, and I can just say void change, for example, I can just name it change radio button. Okay, now let's create the definition for this refactor like this. Okay, so now we have that. Now we can check if radio 1 is checked. So it's checked. We are going to change the label text, so we can just set text to the Python, and I can check if radio button 2 is checked. I want to just say label set text to the C++, and also we want to do the same if radio button 3 is checked. We want to just say label set text to the Java. Okay, so now we have our slot. Now it's time to connect this slot to the signal of the radio button. As I've already said, that there is a signal, built-in signal, that's called toggle, and it takes a Boolean value. So now in here we can just say connect radio button 1. I can use the signal. We need to give the signal, so that is toggled, and we can just give bool. The parent is this. After that we need to give the slot in here, and if you remember, we have created the slot that's change radio, and not slog, but it should be slot. Okay, so now we have this for the first one. We need to just do this for the 3 radio buttons. Radio button 2, and for the radio button 3, so radio button 3. Okay, so now we can save this and we can run this. Save all. Now we have our UI. If I click on Python, so we have Python. If I click on C++, we have C++, and if I click on Java, we have Java, C++, Python. In this lesson, we want to learn about the checkbox. So first of all, what's QCheckbox class? Now, a QCheckbox is an option button that can be switched on or off. Checkboxes are typically used to represent features in an application that can be enabled or disabled without affecting others. Whenever a checkbox is checked, it emits a signal that's called the state changed. Connect to the signal if you want to trigger an action each time the checkbox changes state. Also, you can use a checked method to query whether or not a checkbox is checked. Mostly checkboxes is used when you want the user to select one or more than one option from a set of options. In such situation, you need to make use of checkboxes. Now let's create a practical example. So let me create another project in here, and I can just use widget application. Let me just say checkbox example. Click on next. Next, we want to use widget, and we don't want to create a form. Let's click on next, finish. So close this project. Okay. Now we are going to first include the Q checkbox in here, Q checkbox, and also we are going to include Q label. Let's create that in here. So I can just say Q label Q checkbox check 1, and we need to create 3 checkboxes. So this is check 2, and this is check 3. Okay, so after that, now let's open our CPP file, and in here we need to first include the edge box layout. So Q edge box layout, and now we are going to create our edge box layout, and I can just name it edge box, new Q edge box layout, and I can pass this as parent. After that, we are going to create our checkboxes. So I can just say new Q checkbox, and I can pass this in here. Even we don't need this I think in here, because we are adding the this to the edge box layout. So unknown name QH box layout, this should be okay. So now we can just set text to this. So I can just say set text, and I can just give it Python. Also, we are going to just set the font for that. So as we have done, we want to do the same process as we have done with the radio button. We also want to add icons for this. Set font, Q font, and we want to just use the font type and the size. Also, let's add the icon. So first of all, I can just create a resource, add a new Qt resource. Okay, now we need to add a prefix, so images. Now we can add files. Now let me just copy and paste the files. Okay, now these are my images or icons. Okay, so now I can just say check1 set icon, and I can just use Q icon, and in the Q icon we need to just specify the path of the icon. That is images, and that should be py.png. Also, we can set the icon size, check set icon size, Q size 40. And let's just copy the same code, and we want to create for the check2. And we need to change the text to C++, and we can just change this to C plus cpp.png. So this should be for the check3, and this is for the Java, and this should be java.png. Okay. Now after creating all the checkboxes, it's time to add these checkboxes in the edge box layout. So we already have created that. Edge box add widget, and we want to add the check1. Edge box add widget, and we want to add the check2. Edge box add widget, and check3. Okay. Now let's try this, that it's working or not. Let's just save this. So now I have my checkboxes. Now it's time to add the signal and slots mechanism. As I've already said, that we can use state changed signal of the checkboxes. Now, for example, I want to create another label in here. If I check one of these, I want to just write that, for example, the text in here in the label. So first I'm going to just include I already have created the label in here, and now in here we can just create the label. I can just say label new Q label, and I can give for example, hello text in here, and we can just set the font size, Q font. So we can use another type of the font, for example, and 15. And now let's create our VBox layout. So now in here I can just say QVBox layout, VBox new QVBox layout, and I can just make it this, and from here I can just remove this because I want to add this layout to this VBox layout. And first I want to add the I can just say VBox, add widget. First I want to add my label in here, and also I want to add my this box layout, so I can just say VBox and add layout we can use, and we want to add our box layout. Okay, so now if I run this, you'll see that I have my label with the checkboxes. So now I have my hello label with the checkboxes. Now let's create our slot in here, and I can just say, for example, public slots, and I can just say void change check, and let's create the definition for this. Okay, factor add definition to widget.cpp. Now in here, the first thing is that we are going to create a Q string, so I can just say Q string, and I can just name it volume. And after that, now we can check if check1 is checked. In that case, we want to just say volume check1, and we can get the text of that checkbox using the text like this. Okay, and let's do the same for the two more checkboxes. If check2 is checked, in this case we can just say volume check2 text, and if check3 is checked, you can just say volume check3 text. So using text, we can just get the text of that label, that checkbox. So now at the end, after doing this, now we can just set the value to the label. So I can just say value label set text, and I can just say you have selected, and I can just add the value. So now we have done this. After that, as I've already said, that we have a value changed signal. It's time to connect our slot to the value changed signal, and in here I can just say connect check1 and signal. So the signal is state changed, and we can add int in here. After that, we can say this, and the slot is this is the slot change check. Okay, now we need to just do this for the all check buttons. This should be check2, and this should be check3. Okay, now we are done. Let's just run it. Okay, so now this is my UI. If I click on this, you can see you have selected Python, you have selected Java. Oh, it's telling us Java, and here it's not working. I think we have made a mistake. If check2 is checked, okay, this should be check3. Yeah, check1, check3. Let's just run it again. You have selected Python, you have selected C++, you have selected Java, C++, Python. In this lesson, we want to talk about the QSpinBox. Now, QSpinBox is designed to handle integers and discrete sets of values. QSpinBox allows the user to choose a value by clicking the up down buttons or pressing the up down on the keyboard to increase or decrease the value currently displayed. The user can also type the volume manually. There are different methods that you can use in Spinbox. For example, we have a volume method, and this method returns the current selected integer value of the Spinbox. We have set minimum and set maximum methods. Also, there are some signals for the QSpinbox. For example, we have value changed signal, and it is emitted when the value of Spinbox is changed. Also, we have editing finished signal, and it's emitted when the focus is lost on the Spinbox. Now let's create a practical example. I'm going to create another project, and I can just say 10, and this should be a Spinbox example. And let's just click on next, and we want to use QWidget. We don't need the form. Okay, so now we have our project, and that is a Spinbox. Let's just close the checkbox from here, close project. Okay, so first in the header file we are going to import QLineEdit, so QLineEdit, and also we are going to import QSpinbox. So after that, now we need to create our Spinbox and also LineEdit. So I can just say QLineEdit, and I can just name it, for example, price, and also QLineEdit, and this should be total. QSpinbox, we need to create our Spinbox. I could just say Spinbox. So now we can open our widget.cpp, and the first thing is that we are going to, first I need to add an edge box layout. I can just, and here I can just say include Q edge box layout. And now let's create our edge box layout, Q edge box layout, edge box, new Q edge box layout. Okay, now we are going to create our label, so I can just say Q label. First we need to import Q label. So Q label, new Q label, and in here I can just set the text for this label, and I can just say label set text, and for right now I can just give it, for example, I can just give it laptop price, not for right now. This is the laptop price, and also I can set the font, so label set font, Q font. We need to give the type of the font and also the size of the font. Now we can create our price line edit, so I can just say price new Q line edit, and after doing this we can set the font for the line edit, so I can just say set font Q font times 15. Okay, now let's create another line edit that's for the total, so I can just say new Q line edit, and we want to set the font also for this, and I can change this to total. Okay, now we have our two line edits. Now let's create our Spinbox. So I think that was a Spinbox. So Spinbox, and I can just say new Q Spinbox. We can just set the font for the Spinbox. Okay, and after doing this we can just say edge box, add a widget. First we want to add the label. Let me just copy and paste this. The price, Okay, after the price we need to add the spend box, and at the end the total. So let's save it and let's run it. So now I have my design in here. So now I want, for example, if I write the total price in here and if I change this, I want to show the result at this line edit. So for that we need to create a slot in here, and I can just create that in this section. I can just say public slots, and we can just name it change void change span. So change span, and we need to just add the definition. Okay, so in here first I can just say int my price, and I need to get the text from the price line edit, so I can just say text, and I need to just say dot to int. Okay, so after that I can just say int total number, and for this I can just use the spend box, and I can use the value, and I want to multiply the total number, for example the size of the spend box, with the this my price, so my price. And after that we need to just set that to the second line edit, and that's called total. So you can just say total set text, and if you see in here, so this is the total line edit, and I want to set the result in there. And in here I can just say q string. We need to convert that to the number, so I can just say number, and I can add the total number. And now we can connect this with the state, with the value changed signal, and value changed signal of the spend box. Now in here I can just say connect the spend box, and we are going to say the signal. Now the signal is value changed, and we can pass int. The parent is this. Also we need to just give the slot, not slug but slot, and for the slot we are going to use this change span. So it's spin box. Let's save it and let's run it. Save all. Let's wait. Now it's building. Okay, so if I say 400 and if I change this, so you can see 800, we have the result in here. If I change this to 200, for example, now that's changed to 200, and now we have the result in here. In this lesson, we want to learn about QLCD number. Now, QLCD number class can display a number in just about any size. It can display decimal, hexadecimal, octal, or binary numbers. It's easy to connect to data sources using the display slot, which is overloaded to take any of 5 arguments types. There are different methods that you can use in QLCD number class. For example, we have set mode, which is used to change the base of the numbers. We have display method, which is used to supply data in the LCD digit format. And also we have volume method, which returns the numerical value displayed by the LCD number widgets. And also in here we are going to show our system clock using QLCD number. We want to create this example. For that we will also use QTimer class. Now what's QTimer class? Timers are used for performing repetitive tasks. A timer is an instance of the QTimer class, and the task to be repeated needs to be written in a method, and that method in turn is invoked via the timeout signal of the QTimer. Now let's create our practical example. So let me create a new project, widget application, and I can just name it LCD example, and we can just click on next, and I want the widget application. I don't want to generate form, finish. Okay, now the project is created. Let's close this project. Okay, so now we have our widget.h, widget.cpp, and widget.h. Let's just include the QLCD number, so QLCD number, and let's create our QLCD number, so QLCD number, and I can just call it LCD. So now in the widget.cpp, first we need to include the QHbox layout. Now let's create our QHbox layout. Hbox, new Q Hbox layout, and also now I need to create my LCD, new QLCD number, and after that also I can set a style. First I need to just set the font, Q font. I can just say times 14. Also let's set style sheet, so set style sheet, and I can just say background color yellow. And now we can add this to the Hbox layout. Hbox, add widget, and I want to add the LCD. Okay, so now let's just save this and let's just run this. So now we have our QLCD number, this is, and let's just set a window title in here. Set window title, and I can just say LCD example, and we can resize this to, for example, 300 by 200. Okay, so now we want to show our system clock. For that we are going to create a slot in here, so public slots, and I can just say show time, void show time. Now let's create our definition, and in here first we need to just use QTime in here. Let me include the QTime, and I can just say QTime QTime, and I want to get the current time, so I can just say current time. And after getting the current time, we need to just convert that to string, so QString text, and I can just say time dot toString and hour minute. So now we can check if time dot second, if that is modulus 2, it is 0. In this case we are going to just say text 2, and I can just make it to empty string. And in the else case we want to show that text or that number or that clock to the LCD, so we can use a display in here, so display, and I want to show the text. Okay, now let's just call this in here. Let me just call it in this section, and let me run it. So now you can see that we have our QLCD number, and it's working. There's no problem. It's my system clock. But the problem is this, that you can see that now it's static and it's not working. So for that we're going to use QTimer, and now in here I can just say first we need to import QTimer, include QTimer, and now I can just say QTimer timer, new QTimer, and after that, after creating of the timer, now we can just connect the timer, and the signal is this show time, not show time, but it's time out. The slot is show time, and also we need to just start the timer. I can just say timer start 1000 milliseconds. Now let's save this and let's just run this, that it's working or not. Okay, so now you can see that it's working, and also you can see that it's static and it's repeating, and now you can see that it's looking much better. Now we're going to create a simple random generator app, and for this we're going to use QLCD number. So I'm going to just create my another project, and let me just call it random generator, and click on next. I want the Q widget, I don't want to generate a form, and finish. Okay, so now we have our project, and now in the header file we are going to include the QLCD number, and after that let me just create that in here, QLCD number, and I can just say LCD. Now in the widget.cpp, first I'm going to include the VBox layout, and after that also I need a Q push button, so Q push button. Okay, so now I can just say Q VBox layout. I'm going to create my VBox layout, new Q VBox layout. Okay, so now the first thing is let's create our QLCD number. And after creating of that, let's just set style sheet, background color to, for example, red or whatever you want, you can just give it. And after doing this, let's create our Q push button, btn, new Q push button. And after that, we can just say btn set font, Q font times and 14. Let's also add the font in the for the LCD. Change this to LCD. Let me make it pointer. Okay. So now we have our LCD number and also button. Let's set text to the button. Set text, and I can just say, for example, random generator. Okay, now we need to add that to the VBox layout. Add widget. It should be VBox. And I can just add my LCD and VBox add widget, and I can add my btn. So let's run it. Now it's building the project, and let's wait for this. It will take a little bit for the first time. So we have an error, and okay, so this is the problem. And okay, so let's save it and let's run it again. Okay, so now we have our random generator in here, and I can just add, for example, resize to, for example, 300 by 200. So now let's create our slot, and in here I can just say public slot, and I can just say void rand generator. Let's create the definition. So now in here, first I can just say int random number, and I can just use rand, and after that I can just say lcd display, and I want to display the random number. And now we need to connect that to the clicked signal of the button. The signal is clicked, and the slot is also, you can just give this in here, and the slot is this rand generator. Let's save it and let's run it again. So now if I click on this, you can see that it is working. In this lesson, we want to learn about the QComboBox. So a combo box is a selection widget that displays the current time and can pop up a list of selectable items. A combo box may be editable, allowing the user to modify each item in the list. So also there are different methods that you can use in QComboBox. For example, we have set item text, remove item, we have clear current text, and also there are some signals that you can use in QComboBox class. For example, we have current text changed, and it's emitted when the index of the combo box changed, and we have edit text changed, and it's emitted when the text of an editable combo box is changed. Now let's create a practical example. Let me create a new project, and I can just create for example, combo example. You can just click on next, and I want to use QWidget, and I don't need form, next, and finish. So now that is created. Okay. Now in the header file, first I need to include the QComboBox. So QComboBox, and also we need the QLabel. For signal and slot functionalities, we will use QLabel. Okay, so now I can just create these widgets, and I can just say QComboBox and combo, and QLabel label. Okay, so now after this, in the widget.cpp in here, we are going to create first I need to create an edge box layout. So edge box, QHbox layout. Let's resize our window in here, and I can just give it 500 by 100, the width and height of the window. Now let's create our QHbox layout, and I can just say edgebox, new QHbox layout, and I can pass this in here. Okay, now we are going to create our label in here, and so I can just create a QLabel, and so if you see, I have a label in here that's label, and let me change this to label result, and let me just make this to label. So new QLabel. Now you can pass this as parent in here, as we have already done, but when you're using layout management, there's no need to add this in here. But if you're not using for example layouts, so now let me show you. And here I'm not going to use any layout, and now if I run this, let me just set text in the label. So label set text, and I can just say hello. And now if I run it, let me save this. So now you can see that I'm not seeing any label in here, but if I add this in here, so for example this as parent, and now if I run this, let's just wait. Okay, so now you can see we have our label. Now for example, if you're using layout management, then there is no need to add this in here because we already have this as a parent of the layout. And now if I add this to the HBox layout, so HBox add widget, and I can add the label. So now if I run this, you can see that we don't have any this, but you'll see that I have my label. So now you can see that we have our hello label in here. So now let's just set the font for the label. I can just say label set font, and I can use Q font times. I can just give it 14, and after this let's create our combo box. So we have our combo in here, and I can just say combo new Q combo box. And after that we need to set font for the combo box, and we can just grab this code and paste it in here, and I can just change that to combo. And also I need to change this text to select account type, for example. So now let's add some items to the combo box, and we can use add item. And for example, I can just say current account. I can add another item, deposit account, deposit account, and also saving account. And now let's just add this combo box to the HBox layout. HBox add widget, and I want to add combo. Save it, and let's run it. So now we have our UI, and we have our combo box. Now in here we want to use the current text change signal. For example, I want to add another label. For example, if I change one of these, I want to change the text of the label. So first I'm going to include the QVBox layout, and also I already have added the label. Yeah, I have the label result. And let's create our VBox. First I need to just say label result new Q label, and I can just give hello text for right now. And I need to create my VBox, QVBox layout, VBox new Q VBox layout, and I want to add this as a parent in here, but we need to remove this from here because I want to add this HBox layout to this VBox layout. And let's just say VBox add widget. I want to add my label result. Also we can change the font size. Let me copy and paste that in here, and I can just use label result. Okay, and at the end also we need to add this HBox layout to the VBox layout in here. So VBox add widget, not add widget but add layout to the HBox layout to the VBox layout. Okay, so now let's just run it. Okay, so now we have our hello in here, and it's time to create our slot. And in here I can just say like slots, and I can just use void combo changed. So I need to just refactor, add definition to widget.cpp. Okay, now in here the first thing is that we need to get the text or the item from the combo box, and I can just say combo. So that is a combo, yeah, combo, and I can use current text. Now after getting of the current text, now we can just set that to the label result. So label result, set text, and I can just say your account type is, I can just say item. Okay, so now we have our slot, but it's time to connect this with the current text changed signal of the combo box. So now in the combo, in here I can just say connect. I want to use my combo box, and the signal is current text changed, and we can pass Q string in here, and also the parent is this, and for the slot we want to use this combo changed. Okay, so we have our slot in here. We are getting the current text from the combo box. After that we are setting that to the label result, and at the end we are connecting this slot with the current text changed signal of the combo box. Let's run it again. Okay, so now we have our UI. If I click on deposit, so your account type is deposit, it's saving, and also current account. In this lesson, we want to learn about the QCombo box. So a combo box is a selection widget that displays the current time and can pop up a list of selectable items. A combo box may be editable, allowing the user to modify each item in the list. So also there are different methods that you can use in QCombo box. For example, we have set item text, remove item, we have clear current text, and also there are some signals that you can use in QCombo box class. For example, we have current text changed, and it's emitted when the index of the combo box changed. And we have edit text changed, and it's emitted when the text of an editable combo box is changed. Now let's create a practical example. Let me create a new project, and I can just create, for example, combo example. You can just click on next, next. And I want to use QWidget, and I don't need form, next, and finish. So now that is created. Okay. Now in the header file, first I need to include the QCombo box. So QCombo box, and also we need the Q label. For signal and slot functionalities, we will use Q label. Okay, so now I can just create these widgets, and I can just say Q combo box and combo, and Q label. Okay, so now after this, in the widget.cpp in here, we are going to create first I need to create an edge box layout. So edge box, Q edge box layout. Let's resize our window in here, and I can just give it 500 by 100, the width and height of the window. Now let's create our Q edge box layout, and I can just say edge box, new Q edge box layout, and I can pass this in here. Okay, now we are going to create our label in here, and so I can just create a Q label. And also, if you see, I have a label in here that's label, and let me change this to label result, and let me just make this to label. So new Q label. Now you can pass this as parent in here, as we have already done, but when you're using layout management, there's no need to add this in here. But if you're not using for example layouts, so now let me show you. And here I'm not going to use any layout. And now if I run this, let me just set text in the label. So label set text, and I can just say hello. And now if I run it, let me save this. So now you can see that I'm not seeing any label in here, but if I add this in here, so for example this as parent, and now if I run this, let's just wait. Okay, so now you can see we have our label. Now for example, if you're using layout management, then there is no need to add this in here, because we already have this as a parent of the layout. And now if I add this to the HBox layout, so HBox add widget, and I can add the label. So now if I run this, you can see that we don't have any this, but you'll see that I have my label. So now you can see that we have our hello label in here. So now let's just set the font for the label. I can just say label set font, and I can use Q font times, I can just give it 14. And after this, let's create our combo box. So we have our combo in here, and I can just say combo new Q combo box. And after that, we need to set font for the combo box, and we can just grab this code and paste it in here, and I can just change that to combo. And also I need to change this text to select account type, for example. So now let's add some items to the combo box, and we can use add item. And for example, I can just say current account. I can add another item, deposit account, deposit account, and also saving account. And now let's just add this combo box to the HBox layout. HBox add widget, and I want to add combo. Save it, and let's run it. So now we have our UI, and we have our combo box. Now in here we want to use the current text change signal. For example, I want to add another label. For example, if I change one of these, I want to change the text of the label. So first, I'm going to include the QVBox layout, and also I already have added the label. Yeah, I have the label result. And let's create our VBox. First, I need to just say label result new Q label, and I can just give hello text for right now. And I need to create my VBox, QVBox layout, VBox new Q VBox layout, and I want to add this as a parent in here, but we need to remove this from here because I want to add this HBox layout to this VBox layout. And let's just say VBox add widget. I want to add my label result. Also we can change the font size. Let me copy and paste that in here, and I can just use label result. Okay, and at the end also we need to add our this edge box layout to the VBox layout in here. So VBox, add widget, not add widget but add layout to the edge box layout to the VBox layout. Okay, so now let's just run it. Okay, so now we have our hello in here, and it's time to create our slot. And in here I can just say public slots, and I can just use void combo changed. So I need to just refactor, add definition to widget.cpp. Okay, now in here the first thing is that we need to get the text or the item from the combo box, and I can just say combo. So that is a combo, yeah, combo, and I can use current text. Now after getting of the current text, now we can just set that to the label result. So label result, set text, and I can just say your account type is, I can just say item. Okay, so now we have our slot, but it's time to connect this with the current text changed signal of the combo box. So now in the combo, and here I can just say connect. I want to use my combo box, and the signal is current text changed, and we can pass q string in here, and also the parent is this, and for the slot we want to use this combo changed. Okay, so we have our slot in here. We are getting the current text from the combo box. After that we are setting that to the label result, and at the end we are connecting this slot with the current text changed signal of the combo box. Let's run it again. Okay, so now we have our UI. If I click on deposit, so your account type is deposit, it's saving, and also current account. In this lesson we want to learn about the slider. So the Q slider, or the slider, is the classic widget for controlling a bounded volume. It lets the user move a slider handle along a horizontal or vertical groove and translates the handle's position into an integer value within the legal range. There are different methods that you can use in QSlider class. For example, we have minimum method, and it returns the minimum value of the slider. We have a set value method, and it is used to set value to the slider. We have maximum. This method returns the maximum value of the slider. Also, there are different signals that you can use. We have value changed. The signal is emitted when the slider handle is moved. We have a slider pressed. The signal is emitted when the user starts to drag the slider handle. And also we have a slider released. The signal is emitted when the user releases the slider handle. Let's create a practical example. Let's create a new project and widget application, and I can just name it slider example. Next, and we want the widget. We don't want the form. Okay, so now the project is created. Now in the header file, we need to include QLabel. Also, we are going to include QSlider, so QSlider class. So now let's create the first Q slider, and I can just name it slider. Also we need to create the Q label, and I can just say label result. So after that, let's just include the edge box layout, include Q edge box layout. And after that, we need to create our edge box layout. So, but before that, let's just resize the window 500 by 100. And now I can just say Q edge box layout. I can just say edge box new Q edge box layout. And after that, we are going to create our slider in here, new Q slider. And after creating of the slider, now if I add this to the edge box layout, so add widget and the slider. So now let's run it. So we have a slider. You can see that we have a vertical slider. Now we want to change the orientation of the slider. Up in here I can just say slider set orientation, and in here I can just use horizontal. And also I can add the text in the slider, so I can just say set text position, and I can just say Q slider text below. So now let's run it again. So now we have our slider, and this is a horizontal slider, and also these are text. Also you can set the for example text interval, so I can just say slider set text interval, and I can just give it 5, and slider set minimum, we can set the minimum value to 1, slider set maximum value to, for example, 100. Okay, so now we have our slider, but I want to just for example, when let me just run it, I want to connect the value changed signal of the slider with a slot that I'm going to make. For example, I want to create a label in here. If I move the slider, I want to show the value of the slider in that label. So for that, first we are going to create our label result. So label result new Q label. For right now I can just give it hello, and we can set the font label result set font Q font. I can just say times, this is the type of the font, and this should be, for example, 15, the size of the font. Now we can just add that to the edge box layout. So edge box, add a widget, and I want to add the label result. Okay, so now after this, let's create our slot, and we need to create our slot because we want to connect that to the value changed signal. Now in here I can just say public slots. First, okay, so I can just say void change slider, and let's create the definition. Now in here, first I need to get the value of the slider, and I can just say slider value, and we can use value for getting the slider. After that, we want to set that to the label result. Set text. Now the label expects string, so you can see we need to give const string, but this value is integer. We need to convert that, so we can just say Q string number, and we can just add the value. Okay, now we have this change slider. It's time to connect that with the value changed signal of the slider, and I can just say slider the signal is value changed, and we can give integer. The parent is this, and the slot is slider changed. Change slider. Okay, now let's run it again. So we have our slider, and if I change this, you can see that we have our slider, and that's the value, and it is working. In this lesson, we want to learn about QListWidget. Now, QListWidget is a convenience class that provides a list view similar to the one supplied by QListView, but with a classic item-based interface for adding and removing items. QListWidget uses an internal model to manage removing items. Also, QListWidget uses an internal model to manage each QListWidget items in the list. There are different methods that you can use. So, for example, we have insert item. We have insert items that you can insert multiple items. We have take item, that this method removes the item and returns items from the specific row in the list widget. We have current item. This method returns the current item in the list. And also there are some signals that you can use for QListWidget. For example, we have a clicked signal. Now this signal is emitted when the item is clicked in the list widget. We have current row changed. Now the signal is emitted when the row of the current list item changed. Also, we have current text changed. Now this signal is emitted whenever the text is text is changed. And also we have current item changed. This signal is emitted when the focus of the current list item is changed. Now let's create a practical example. So now I'm going to create another project in here, and I can just say list widget example. I want a widget application, and click on next. Okay, so now the project is created. Let's just close this project. Okay, now in the widget.cpp we want to include the QVBox layout. Also, we are going to include the QListWidget. So QListWidget item. Okay, so after that, let's just resize the window to 500 by 100. Also, we can just create our VBox layout in here, QVBox layout. I can just say VBox, new QVBox layout, and I can pass this as parent. Now we can create our list widget. So QList. Oh, this should be list widget, not list widget item. So QListWidget, and I can just hit list. New QListWidget. Now we need to add some items to the list widget, but before that, let me just I can just hit list widget, and I can just change the font. So set font, Q font. I can use times and 14. Also, we can set the style sheet. Set style sheet, and I can just say background color, and I can just make it yellow. Now we can insert some items to the list widget. So list widget, I can just say add item. So now I can just say, for example, first we need to specify the index, so 0 index, and I want to just add C++. So now let's just save it. and let me run it. I should see the error. We don't have any error. Yeah, that was we have error, no matching. The item. So okay, new QList widget. List widget. Oh, it's not add item, sorry, it's insert item. So insert item. Okay, so now let's just add the list widget to the VBox layout. Add a widget. I want to add list widget. Okay. So now let's just run this and save all. Let's wait. And you can see that the warning is gone. We don't have any warning. And now we have our C++. Let's just add some more items. List widget insert item, and I can just say, for example, Python. Java in the second index, and let me just add C#. Let's save it and let's just run it again. So now we can see that we have our list widget with the items. In this lesson, we want to learn about the QFont combo box. Now, the QFont combo box widget is a combo box that lets the user select a font family. The combo box is populated with an alphabetized list of font family names, such as, for example, Arial or Times New Roman. And family names are displayed using the actual font when possible. QFont combo box is often used in toolbars in conjunction with QCombo box for controlling the font size and QTool buttons for bold and italic. There is a signal that's called current font changed in QFont combo box class. When the user selects a new font, the current font changed signal is emitted. In addition, we have current index changed signal also. So now let's create a practical example. Let me create a new project in here and widget application, and I can just name it font combo example and click on next. Next, we are going to use a widget based application. We don't want to generate a form, and next, finish. So now the project is created, and so let me close this. Okay, so the first thing is that we need to import QFont combo box, and I can just include a QFont combo box. Also, we need to include QLabel. Okay, so after that, now let's create our, I can just say private. I can create QFont combo box, and I can just name it, for example, font combo. Also, we need to just I think we don't need a QLabel, we need a QTextEdit. So QTextEdit. So I can just say QTextEdit, and I can just, for example, name it edit. So after creating of this, now let's create our font combo box. And in the widget.cpp, and here the first thing is that I'm going to just resize my window, and I can just give it, so for example, 500 by 100. And after that, we need to create a VBox layout. Let me just include the QVBox layout, and let's create our VBox layout. QVBox layout, and I can just name it, for example, VBox new QVBox layout. Okay. After that, we need to create our font combo. So I can just say font combo new Q font combo box, Q font combo box. After that, now we also need to create our Qtext edit. So I can just say new Qtext edit. And now let's add these widgets to the VBox layout. So I can just say add a widget, and I want to add font combo. I can just copy and paste this, and also I need to add this edit. Okay, so now let's run it and let's wait. So we have an error. Oh yeah, I have forgot to add this. Okay, now let's just save it and let's just run it again. So now you can see that we have our combo box, and you can see that list of fonts in here, font combo box. For example, if I write something, I want to change the font type of this text in the Qtext edit. So for this, as I've already said, that we're going to use the current font changed signal. Now for that, the first thing is that we need to create a slot in here, and I can just say public slot, or you can use private, whatever you want. And in here, I can just say void change font. So now let's just create the definition. Okay. Now the first thing is that we need to just say Q font. We need to get the font from the font combo box, and I can just say Q font and font combo. And first I need to get the item text, so I can just say item text. And after that, it expects index, and now we can use the current index of font combo, and that is current index. And after getting of that, we can just easily set that to the we can just use set font, and we can just use this my font. Now after that, we need to connect that to the font combo box, to the signal. So I can just say connect font combo, and the signal is current font changed, and I can pass Q font in here. The parent is this. Also, we need to specify the slot. Now let's save this and let's run it. Let's wait. So it's building the project. Okay, for example, if I say welcome to Qt and C++ course, and if I choose it, for example this one, you can see that that's changed. And if I choose another one, for example this one, you can see this changed. And if I choose, for example, like this, you can see that the font type is changing. In this lesson, I want to show you that how you can create table using QTableWidget. Now, TableWidget provides standard table display facilities for applications. The items in a QTableWidget widget are provided by QTableWidget item. And we have different methods in this class. We have set row count. This method is used to define the number of rows you want. Set column count. This method is used to define the number of columns. We have row count. This method returns the number of rows in the table. Also, we have column count. This method returns the number of columns in the table. Let's create a practical example. So we can create a new project in here, and in this project I can just name it, for example, table widget example, click on next, and widget application, we don't need the form. Okay, so now the project is created, and now let's create our Qtable widget. So first we need to include a Qtable widget. Also we need Qtable widget item for showing the items in the table. So Qtable widget item, and let's just okay, so let me resize the window to 500 by 100, and after that we need to create our Qtable widget. So Qtable widget, and I can just name it table, new Qtable widget, and I need to pass this in here because right now I'm not using any layout. Okay, so now we can set the font for this. Set font, Q font, and I can just say times, and also the font size, for example 14. Even you can set a style sheet for the table widget, so set style sheet, and I can just say background color to yellow. Okay, now we need to set the row count and also the column count. So for right now, if I run this, let me first run this. So now you can see we have something in here, but we want to add the row count. As I've already said, that there are some methods. For example, we have set row count. For setting the row count, I can just say set row count, for example 3, and a table set column count and 3. So after doing this, now we need to add some items. So I can just say Qtable widget item, and I can just say name, for example, new Qtable widget item. So we can add name, and also I can just copy this because we want one more for the email, for example, and I can just say email, and let's change this to email. And after that, now I can just say table set item, and I want to set the email, the name first, and also table set item, and I want to set the email. Okay, so we need to specify the row and column in here. So in 0 row and 0 column, I want to specify the name, and in the 0 row and first column, I want to set the email. So now if I run this, so now you can see we have our name and also email. Now let's add item to this, and for that I can just copy this. Let me copy and paste it in here. For example, I can just give it like this, and so this is the first one. I can give that for the email. For example, I can just say my email. And after that, we need to set the item. Table set item. Now we want in the first row and 0 column, we want to add this. And in the first row and first column, we want to add our email or my email. Let's save this and let's try it once more. So now you can see we have our table widget and also we have our item. Let's talk about the QCalendarWidget. Now, QCalendarWidget class provides a monthly based calendar widget allowing the user to select a date. The widget is initialized with the current month and year, but QCalendarWidget provides several public slots or methods to change the year and month that's shown. For example, we have selected date. This method returns the currently selected date. The date is returned as a QDate object. We have month shown. This method returns the currently displayed month. And also we have year shown. This method returns the currently displayed year. Also, we have a selection changed signal. This signal is emitted when the user changes the currently selected date. Now let's create a practical example. So let's create another project, and I can just name it Calendar Widget, and click on next, and widget based app. So now the project is created. Okay, now we need to import or include QCalendarWidget. Also, we're going to include QLabel. So let's create this. So I can just say private. I want to create QCalendarWidget. I can just call it calendar. Also QLabel and label. So now let's open our widget.cpp, and in here we are going to create our calendar widget. First, I'm going to include QVBoxLayout. Okay, so now first let's create our QVBoxLayout. And QVBoxLayout. Now let's create our calendar. So new QCalendarWidget. So now I can just add that calendar to the VBox layout. So let me just show you. So I can just say VBox, add a widget, and I want to add the calendar. And now let's just run this. So now we have a nice calendar in here. I want to create another label in here at the bottom. For example, if I choose a date, I want to show that in the label. Because I want to show that how you can use the selection changed signal of the calendar. So let's create our label. We have the label in here. Now I can just say label new Q label, and I can just give it hello. Also, you can add grid to the calendar. So let me just show you. You can just say set grid visible. Now it takes a boolean value. By default that is false. It means that there is no grid in the calendar, but if you want to make it, you can just make it true. Also, let me set a style sheet for the calendar. Set a style sheet, and I can give background color to, for example, yellow. So now we have our label, and let's set font for the label. Label set font, Q font, and after that also you can set style sheet for the font also. Let me copy that. Instead of this, we want font, and it should be red color, for example. Now let's add that to the VBox layout. Label. So now if you run this, so now I have my calendar. Let me change this to color because I don't want to change the background of the label. And also let's add a resize in here, width and height of the window, 500 by 100. Okay, now we are going to create our slot in here, and public slots, or you can just use it private. Also, you can do private slots if you need that. And first, I can just say void select date, and let's just create the definition. First of all, we need to just get the selected date, so I can just say date selected, and I can use calendar, and I can just say selected date dot toString. So we need to just convert that to string, and after that we can set that to the label. So I can just add this date selected. Now we have our slot. After this, we need to connect that to the selection changed signal. And here I can just say connect, and we want to connect this calendar. We need to give the signal. Now the signal is selection changed. And we need to give the slot, so that is select date. So it should be no problem, it should be date, but I have given data. So now let's run it. Okay, so now if I choose this, you can see this is the date, this is the date, and this is the date. If I change this like this, you can see that we can see the date. In this lesson, we want to talk about the QInput dialog class. Now, the QInput dialog class provides a simple convenience dialog to get a single value from the user. Now, the input value can be a string, a number, or an item from a list. A label must be set to tell the user what they should enter. Now, there are different methods that you can use in QInput dialog. We have getItem. Now, getItem, this method shows a combo box displaying several items to choose. We have getText. It shows a line edit widget to accept text from the user. Also, we have getEnd. This method shows a spin box for accepting an integer number. Now, let's create a practical example. So I'm going to create another project, a new project, and let me just call it input dialog example. Click on next, and we're going to use a widget based application. Okay, so now the project is created. Let me close my previous project. Okay, so now in the header we need to import our input dialog. Also we need to import QLineEdit. So in here we need to include QInput dialog. Also we need to include QLineEdit. So now after this, let's just create our input dialog and also QLineEdit. So I can just say QInput dialog. So, and I can just call it dialog. Also we have QLineEdit, and I can just call it lineEdit. So now let's just open our widget.cpp, and in here we are going to create our input dialog. So now first let me import, we need to import a label in here, QLabel, and first let me just resize my window 500 by 100, and after that let me also include the HBox layout. So QHBox layout, and it's a horizontal box layout. We already have talked about the HBox layout. Let's create our HBox layout. HBox new QHBox layout. Okay, so now also we need to create a label. Let me just include the Q label, and let's create the label in here. So I can just say Q label, new Q label. Okay, now we are going to just set text to the label, set text, and for example I can just say choose language, and also we need to just set the font for the label. So first I need to make it like this, and now I can just say label, set font. We are going to use Q font, the type is Times, and also this is the size of the font. Okay, after that we need to create our line edit, so I can just say line edit, new Q line edit. We can set the font for the line edit, and I can just easily copy this and paste it in here. So instead of label we are going to use line edit. Okay, now we need to just add these two in the edge box layout. So I can just say edge box, add widget. We are going to add our label, also edge box, add widget. We want to add our line edit. So let me run this once. So now this is our design. Also we need to add a push button in here, so let's just include the Q push button, and in here I can just create that Q push button, and I can just call it btn new Q push button, and let's just set text to this, btn set text, and I can just say, for example, choose language, and also we can set the font. Let's just copy this. Okay, let's add this btn to the edge box layout, and I can just use the btn. Okay, so now let me run it again. Okay, so for example, if I click on this, I want to show an input dialog, and for that so let's create our slot in here. As I've already said, that there are different methods that you can use. Now first we're going to work on the get item, input dialog get item. So let's create our slot in here. I can just say public slots, and I can just say void get my item. Let's add the definition. Okay, now in here, so first I can just create a Q string text, and so first we need to create a Q list in here. I can just say Q list, and the type is Q string, and I can just name it, for example, language, and I want to add some language like C++, Python, Java, and also, for example, C#. Okay, so now we have that. Let's now use I can just use string text Q input dialog, get item. Even we don't need this input dialog in here, because we don't need this. We need just even I can remove this. Okay, So now, as I've already said, that with the get item, so if we're using get item, this method shows a combo box displaying several items to choose. So if you see in here, we have several items like C++, Python, Java, and C#, and it will add these items in a combo box and it will show to us. So now in here, in the get item, first we need to give the parent as this. After that, we can just give the title. I can just input dialog, for example. And after that, I can just say list of languages. And after that, we need to add the languages in here. So this language, and we can give 0 and also false, the two more parameters. Okay, so now we have our text input dialog. Now first we need to check that if the text is not empty, I can just say if not text dot empty. Okay, is empty, so is empty. If that's not empty, we are going to just set this text to the line edit. So I can just say line edit set text, and I want to set this text. Now let's run this. Okay, we need to connect this. So okay, in here we can just connect that. I can just say connect. We want to connect the btn. The signal is clicked, and the slot is, this is the slot, get my item. Let's save it and let's run it again. So now this is our design. If I click on choose language, you can see that we have a combo box, and here we have our items. For example, if I choose Python, click on OK, so you can see we have Python in here. And if I choose C++, OK, we have C++. And if I choose, for example, Java, OK, you can see we have Java in here. Now this was get item, yeah. Also, we have another one, and that's called get text. And as I've already said, that using get text, we can just get the text. It shows a line edit widget to accept text from the user. So let's create that. And in the widget.h, first I need to create my slot, and I can just say get my text. And in the widget.cpp, let me just first so why it's not working, let me add definition to widget.cpp. Okay, so now in here the first thing is that we can just create a q string, and I can just call it text. After that, we are going to use q input dialog, and I can just use get text. So in here we can pass the parent as this, and after that we can just say get username, and also I can just say enter your name. If not text dot as empty, we want to just say line edit set text, and we can just add text. Now let's connect that. First let me comment this. So this time, and instead of that, we want to use get my text. Save it, run it, and let's wait. So this is our design, even though we haven't changed the label and also the button text, but we want to show this. So now you can see we have line edit in here. Let me just add the username, and if I click on OK, so we have the username in here. In this lesson, we want to learn about the QCalendarDialog. Now, the QCalendarDialog class provides a dialog widget for specifying colors. The ColorDialogs function is to allow users to choose colors. For example, you might use this in a drawing program to allow the user to set the brush color. The static functions provide model color dialogs, and the static getColor function shows the dialog and allows the user to specify a color. This function can also be used to let users choose a color within a level of transparency. Now let's create our practical example. Let me create another project, and I can just name it color dialog example, and click on next. We want to just use widget based app. So now the project is created. Okay, so now in the header file, the first thing is that I need to import, we need a Qt6 and also we need a color dialog. So now in here I can just include the Qt6 and I can include the QCalendarWidget. Okay, and now let's just create that private. I can just say Qt6 and I can just call it edit QCalendarWidget color dialog. So let's just open our widget.cpp. Now in the widget.cpp, in here, first let me include the QVBox layout, and after that in here, first we need to create our VBox layout. I can just say QVBox layout, VBox, new QVBox layout. Now let's create our text edit, and I have called that edit, new Qtext edit. After that we also need a Qpush button. Let me include that, Qpush button, Qpush button, btn new Qpush button. So now let's also set a text to the button. Set text, I can just say change color. Let's add that to the VBox layout. I can just say add widget. I want to add the edit or text edit, and VBox add widget. I want to add the btn. So let's just try this, the design. So now we have our simple design. We can write something and we want to change the color. So by clicking off this button. Now we are going to just create a slot in here. And I can just say void change color. Let's just add the definition. Now in here, first we need to create our color dialog, and I can just say new QCalendarWidget. And after that, I can just say QColor. I need to get the color from the QCalendarWidget, and I can just say color dialog. We can use getColor, and we can add a default color, for example, Qt yellow. And now we can set the color to the text edit, to the edit. Set text color, and I can just use color in here. Now let's connect this with the clicked signal of the push button. I can just say connect btn. The signal is clicked, and the slot is change color. Let's run our program. So let me write something in here. Welcome to Qt and C++ GUI development course, or welcome to Qt and C++ GUI development course. So let me select this. For example, I want to change it to red, and you can see that's changed. And for example, if I choose another color, yellow, it's changed to yellow, and I can use another color. You can see that the color is changed. We have already sorted how you can use QCalendarWidget. Now let's talk about the QFont dialog. The QFont class provides a dialog widget for selecting a font. A font dialog is created through one of the getFont functions. Now let's create a practical example. So in here I'm going to create a new project, and I can just name it font dialog example, and we can just click on next. We want a widget based application, we don't need the for, and let's create that project. So now the project is created, and I can just close this. Okay, so now in the header file, first we are going to import Qtext edit. So I can just say include Qtext edit. Also I'm going to include another QFont dialog, so QFont dialog. After that, let's create our Qtext edit. So I can just say Qtext edit, and I can just name it text edit. Also, we need to create the QColor dialog. So let's just wait. QFont dialog, not color dialog. QFont dialog, and I can just name it font dialog. So now after that, let's just open our widget.cpp, and in the widget.cpp, first of all, we can just resize our window. So I can just say resize, and I can just give it, for example, you could just give it whatever you want, but I want 500 by 100. Also, we need VBox layout with the push button. So let's include that. QVBox and include QPush button. Okay, so now after that, let's create our VBox layout, our vertical box layout. QVBox layout, VBox, new QVBox layout. Okay, now after creating of the VBox layout, let's create our text edit. So text edit, new QText edit. Also, we are going to create our push button, QPush button, btn, new QPush button, and I can just say for the text, set text, for example, open font. Now let's add these widgets to the VBox layout. Add widget, and first I need to add the text edit. So text edit. After that, VBox, add widget. I want to add the btn or push button. Okay, we have unknown QVBox. Okay, so we have a typo. Now let's just run this. Okay, now we have our design. For example, I can write in the text edit. I want, for example, if I click on open font, I should see a dialog of the fonts, and after that I can change the font or the type of this text. So for that, first we need to create a slot, and in here I can just say private or public. You can just whatever you want. So for example, I can just say private slots, and in here I can just name it void change font, or I can just make it public. Okay, so now after creating of this, let's create the definition, and in here I can just say bool. Okay, I can create a boolean value, so bool. Okay, now we need to create the Q font, and I can just say I have imported okay, we didn't need this in here, and because we are not initializing that, we can just get the font dialog. We can just say Q font dialog, and we need to import this font dialog in here. Include the font dialog, and now I can just say get font. So Q font dialog, Q font dialog, get font. Okay, and in the get font, we can just add our OK in here, and after that we can just add the Q font, and we can add a default font. For example, I can just use this. And after that, we need to give the size of the font, for example 12 for the Q font, so get font we have, and we need to give the 12 in here, and after that we need to pass this as a parent, and after that we can check if OK. We can just change the text edit font. So text edit, set font, and we can pass the font. Now you can see that this set font expects Q font, and we have our Q font in here. Now let's just connect this with a push button. The signal is clicked. This the parent, and we have the slot. So this is the slot. So now let's just run this. Let's save it and let's run it. So if I say welcome to Qt, Qt and C++ course, if I choose this open font, okay, that's no problem. And now if I change this to 10 bold, and now you can see that is changed. In this lesson, we want to talk about the QMessageBox. Now, the QMessageBox class provides a modal dialog for informing the user or for asking the user a question and receiving an answer. A message box displays a primary text to alert the user to a situation, and informative text to further explain the alert or to ask the user a question, and an optional detailed text to provide even more data if the user requests it. A message box can also display an icon and standard buttons for accepting a user response. There are different types of Qt message boxes that you can use. For example, we have about message box, information message box, warning message box, and also multi-choice message box. Now let's create a practical example. So now let me create a new project in here, and I can just call it Q message box, or we can say message box example, and you can just click on next. And let's just use widget based app. We don't need the form. So now we have our project. Okay, now the first thing is that we need to create some buttons, because we want to create some for example, information message box or like warning message box. Now for that we are going to create 3 buttons. So in here, first I can just include the Q push button, and also QH layout. So first let me just resize the window on 500 by 100, and now we can create our HBox layout, QHBox layout. I can just say HBox, new QHBox layout. So okay, now let's create the push buttons. I can just say btn1 new Q push button, btn set text, and so the first one is warning message box. and we need to, okay, so now new Q push button. So let me add this in the edge box layout. So add widget, and I can add the btn. So this is btn1 I have. Okay. So now let's create 2 more buttons. I can just copy and paste that. This should be btn2. We need information, btn2, and I can just copy this and paste that once more. This is btn3, and this should be about. Okay, so now we have these buttons, and if I run this, so we have an error. Sorry, I forgot to add new in here. So now let's just run it again. You'll see that I have the push buttons. Now, so now we need to create some slots for these buttons. So you can see we have these buttons, but so this should be btn2, and this should be btn3. Okay. So now in the header file, we are going to create our slot, and in here I can just say, for example, public slots. Now first we are going to create for the warning message box. So I can just say warn message void set info, for example, and void set about. Okay, so now let's add the definitions, and I can just say refactor, add definition, refactor, and also for the last one, refactor, add definition. Okay, so now we have, let's bring these at the bottom. Okay, so now first let's start from the warning, and in here I can just say Q message box. First we need to import Q message box. We need to include that. So Q message box, and I can just use warning. So warning, and in the warning, first we need to give the parent as this, and the title as warning, and also I can just add the text. This is warning. So now we need another one. Q message box and information. It should be small letter. Information, and the text is, this is information. And let's just create the last one, and that is about, and also this is about. Okay, so now we have our these slots. It's time to connect that with the clicked signal. Connect btn1 signal is clicked, the parent is this, and the slot is warn message. So let's just copy this. This should be for the btn2, and this should be set info, set about. Let's save this and let's run it. Okay, so now if I click on warning, you can see this is a warning. If I click on information, this is information, and if I click on about, this is about.